Saya's kit is out, and we're going to talk about it. I reviewed it, graded it for the pre-release review, which I'm doing now, and I'll discuss her kit. She is very strong. She is A to S tier in my estimation. She has some clear-cut weaknesses. However, it cannot be denied. She's technically the weakest Annie unit, despite being very strong. Why? Sorry, Zai, you're up against fucking Dice, Tawil, Caster, G Murphy. There was no way you were gonna beat that, but you came close. You came close. Now let's discuss her weaknesses and strength. She gets Divine Caro Realm, which is JP Caro. So that's 3 out of the 4 changes from the JP. There is some minor changes for Chaos, but no one fucking cares about the Chaos changes in JP. It's like literally nothing. But it's with a twist. So I'll go over the Divine Caro, in a bit. And let's talk to the gist of it. The best part about her kit and why I might pull her on my actual account. And the game broken thing about her actual power creep. So, the strongest thing about Saya? Fuck Saya! Her fucking wheel! Her fucking wheel! Are you kidding me? Like Saya could not release. Saya could not exist. Someone could have put a bullet in her head. And her wheel is better than she is. Now, this is a very big accusation. It's not because Saya's bad. It's because this is the first wheel that gives +1 Arithmetica limit. And if it works the exact same as the Relic, which has the same text, this is you get 6 mana a turn instead of 5. This is the only wheel in the game that does this. This is the first Arithmetica limit wheel. And it's money. I love money. I love money. In addition, this can also be used on Caster as a meme, but mostly on Zaya. So this wheel, if you just delete the second half of it and just delete the sigil yield, I would still rate it S tier. It is the only shield that increases your mana limit. This wheel is broken. It's better than her, and she's a great unit. So let's go back to her kit. So, what does she do? She's a support character that is a real support. Meaning she's not Arachne, she's not G Murphy, she's not Tawil, she's not Pikmin, she's not she's not Caster, she's not any of those other supports I mentioned, where if you run them as a support in most cases, you're fucking retarded. She's not a support where they're so strong that if you're running them as a support, you're playing the game wrong, because you should run them as a DPS carry. Because there's nothing in her kit that makes her do damage to herself, and they learn from Caster, because she does do corrosion. They learn from Caster. So let's go over the big important part about her kit. First off, I'm going to scroll over her HP value and stats. She is the Lay of Limited Awakers. She has one of the lowest stat baselines and one of the worst stat distributions out of any Limited Awaker. With Realm Mastery, DR, low health, low defense, low attack, and high base alias. Everything about her stat is a loss. Everything is a big L in terms of stat line, because I'm using 120 as the baseline stat line, because 120 is what the average is. So every one of her stat is below average, 104, 104, 99. So she's the Lay of Limiteds in terms of stats. However, her kit makes up for it. Her kit tries to make up for it. So let's go over the Divine Caro and how her kit makes up for it. Boom. Now I have my rating on the side and my thoughts, but I have it on the screen to the side as well. So let's go over Divine Caro. So we're going to skip over this first, and go to how she makes up for it. So how she makes up the low health is 10% max HP increase, 50% damage amp, and 20 stacks of Frenzy at the start of each turn for your Awakeners. So, the 10% max HP bonus is to compensate. It's still a nerf to put her on your team for most accounts in terms of HP values. Because in order for this to make up with her low stats, you have to have a team with like 2,500 or more HP. So let me go into the game and show you what I mean. Real quick. Actually, I can't go in the game. But my account, because I'm currently have something testing, so I can show you something else about it. I'm too lazy to review again. So this 10% max HP for my account. Remember, the higher your account level, the more max HP you get per point of Constitution. Now, her base Constitution value is 104. Now, the highest Constitution values in the game, Caucus, Zoo, etc., are in the 200s. So from the highest to the lowest, that's half. That's 100 less Constitution. However, the average Awakener is 20 to 50 more Constitution than her, depending on who you put in your team at level 60. So we're gonna say that. So at my health levels, my account level, every 100 points of Constitution, you gain 290 HP. You can check it in the section of Forbidden Lore. So 290 HP per 100 points. So for my account specifically, in order to make up for the HP loss, your HP needs to be higher than 2,900 if I was comparing her to high HP Awakeners like Salve, Zoo, etc. If I was comparing them to those units. Now, if I was comparing them to the average unit, let's say with only 30, 20, 50 more Constitution in her, so 140. 140. You only need to have 1,400 or more HP for this to be worth more. So what does that mean? The older your account is, the weaker this effect is compared to, before. Because the older, actually, it's the opposite. Sorry. No, I'm right. The older account is, because the older account is, the more likely you'll have higher level Awakeners and Constitution. So you're more likely to, outscale this by not having her on your high HP teams. However, it does make up for her low cons value. So you can think of this as a tack on effect. So this max HP section does not really matter. This damage amp is nice, is equivalent to G-Doll. This propagation frenzy is nice. So let's talk about the Divine Caro Realm in general now. It's a nerf to Caro Realm with benefits, just like Divine Aquar, Divine Ultra. Now, it does carry some effects from the JP. So what is copied from the JP? There's a 3-turn cooldown on using Furnace. Right here. 3-turn cooldown, same as JP. And playing Cars does not no longer give crit rate. This Embryo. Not the secondary effect, but no longer gives crit rate, blah, blah, blah. So what is changed from the JP? Devour no longer gives shield or temporary strength. That's a slight loss. However, in exchange, Devour now gains 40 stacks of Frenzy. Now, what is Frenzy do? And what do they intend her to be? They intend her to be an Exalt Doricine support with Frenzy. Because what Frenzy does is it buffs the effects of the Awakener's next Exalt by 1%. So that means everything. Final damage, strength gain, technical gain, fixed poison, fixed counter, fixed shield. She's supposed to be an Exalt buffer. Now, that's not what most players that's not how she's gonna be used in a meta. If you actually read her kit before this video, you should know what her best in slot team is, or what her best in slot teams are. And it's not the worst scene. It's not even close. But I can see what they intended to do with this. This doesn't matter. If this was only effect, I would say sure. But let's go over the rest. So Crimson Furnace, auto accumulation. This is whatever. 10% of HP loss up to 50% of max HP. Yeah, this is whatever. This is a Crimson Furnace minor buff. But again, Salvador is better. You wouldn't run her in Salvador comp. So the big nerf that I think is a big deal is the Embryo Fusion up here. Because Embryo Fusion gain is increased. That is correct. Scaling with HP loss. However, the Embryo Fusion cap is also doubled. Just like how the Key Flare cap is doubled in train mode. Or how her Alienist cap is higher. And this is actually bad despite the buff. Because anyone who actually plays the game knows that whenever they release this effect out, it's always going to be weak on launch. Why? They buffed her own Embryo Fusion. However, every other Embryo Fusion generator in the game, whether it's Styes, Lay, Pikmin, etc., their values are still flat Embryo Fusion based on the old Embryo Fusion cap. Just like with Key Flare and the train, how like Key Flare generators suffer, or like Alien Mist cards. It's like the same issues with Vortex, with Arachne. They have high Alien Mist regen on their own, but the existing units in the game, meaning Winkle, meaning Miriam, meaning things that give Alien Mist gen, they don't give you a percentage of Alienness. They give you a flat value. Since the cap is higher, it's less effective. And that's no different than the issue here with Embryo Fusion. That means that if you're playing her with other Embryo Fusion units, they're going to do less work than they normally do. Because their value is assuming the old Embryo Fusion cap. Because they are flat value. So this will age better with time, because as soon as they do this, they're going to release Wheels and Awakeners that does real percentage Embryo Fusion, or like real whatever Embryo Fusion. Even though it says percentage now, it's not really percentage, it's just pretending as a flat value. So yeah, this is kind of hard to play around right now with current Embryo Fusions. It makes Lay even weaker. With this release, Lay just falls, and she's currently now like the worst Caro unit in the game. Because right now, Xayah is a better Embryo Fusion and power creeps the fuck out of Lay in terms of Embryo Fusion with her strike defense. She power creeps her in every regards. She power creeps a couple of units, just like fucking G Murphy, in terms of her card effects. So, let's go over the next part about her Divine Caro Realm that's important. After using Crimson Fern, inflict corrosion equal to 1% of their max HP. Stronger Crimson effect up to 100%. Now, this corrosion effect is nice for Crimson Furnace late game. This is very nice because 1% of their max HP is quite huge when regards to corrosion, because you know later bosses have 2 million HP, or if you're playing train, 40 plus million HP. So this is nice. This is very nice. Crimson Corrosion. It's for endgame. However, if you're a new player pulling her, this is worthless to you, because the mobs at early game have like no HP, so it's no corrosion. You're going to one-shot them anyway, with or without corrosion, so you don't care if you're a new player. This is mostly for endgame players, this Crimson Corrosion. So, Realm Mastery. Fucking garbage as usual. It's extra garbage on her. I'll go why later on in this video. But you should not build a Realm Master on her, which is quite funny because of her stats. However, she's also the first unit whose base stats or stat scaling does not correspond to her wheel. because they know fucking Realm Mastery is fucking trash, dude. Holy shit. To give an example, why does trash have to do math? Like, every point of Realm Mastery increases the Frenzy stacks gain from Propagation Caro by 0.05%. Now, if you're building Realm Mastery, if you're a new player, you're probably only going to get 100 to 200 Realm Mastery. Even veteran players, you're only going to get like 300 Realm Mastery before you are sacrificing stuff for your team. So let's say you get 100 Realm Mastery. This is 5%. If you get 200 Realm Mastery, this is 10%. Yeah, 10% more Propagation Frenzy stacks. 10% more Propagation Frenzy stacks. It's not worth sacrificing Damage Amp, sacrificing anything else, because Damage Amp is a better version of that if you want to compare for the Propagation Frenzy. And it's a lot easier. It doesn't, and their wheels are generally better than Realm Mastery wheels. So, but then this effect is doubled. Yeah, it's still fucking garbage, dude. Especially when you compare it to her utter scaling later on. So, her Soul Force, which is Arc 2 only. If you're a new player, you can ignore this. This is grant selected Awakeners 10 to 40 stacks of Propagation Frenzy. It makes the next posse takes effect twice. So, Song of Saya is her Exalt. So after you Exalt, this has the same effect as G Ramona over Exalt, for example. So this is also more corrosion stacks on Caro enemies. You don't give a fuck about that. You don't give a fuck about that if you're a new player. You give a fuck about this if you're an endgame player. It's very good if you're an endgame player. The posse effect twice is the important thing. Because again, if you're watching this video, there's only 3, maybe 4 comps that you can do if that cares about Propagation Frenzy. You're not going to use her as a Propagation Frenzy unit. You are never going to use her as a Propagation Frenzy unit. I'll tell you that. Propagation Frenzy, again, only buffs the Awakener's next Exalt. So that already limits their thing. So let's go over what you will use it for. Now, if you're not retarded, you already figured out who she is best supports. So her best support, based on her Exalt, her entire kit, before I go over it, is probably Morimens, because of the copy basic strike and her 0 cost and her whole alien miss and playing with low HP. Now, other units, discard comp, then Doricine. These are the only 3 comps right now I can think of that will benefit the most, besides a Caucus comp. She does benefit from a Caucus comp. However, Thighs is still a better choice. However, I will compare it with Thighs. Like, the thing about her, I don't know how this interacts with Thighs' super babies. Can I make a super Propagal Embryo? Probably not. But if I can, it would be pretty funny. But Caucus is also an honorable mention. Caucus is probably going to be insane with her too. So, Caucus Exalt. I'm going to test that, see how good it actually is. And then obviously the Morimens. The Morimens is probably easy. Now, I like her kit. Now, her kit is going to be rated as CDF tier by some people. They are the non-believers. This is a controversial thing, but this is an easy. You can easily make an argument for why you think she's C, D, or F tier. Average, trash, F. Why do I say she's A to S tier if I notice her weaknesses, making her like as bad as Pollux or Morimens in general? Because what most players are going to complain about is her Rouse, which is insanely strong. Because she's my favorite type of unit. RNG. They don't believe. They're cowards. They don't believe in the magic hat. They don't believe in the RNG. So, what it does is that your cards that are randomly affected and affected with perception warp, they can have a % chance to be cheaper or more expensive. Your card can +2 cost, +1 cost, or -1 cost, or -2 costs, or never change. And the effect is removed upon playing or discarding. So, you cannot save for next turn, when you trigger it, you have to Gamba. Hopefully, it makes it you can play your entire turn, and it buffs it. It makes her the best fucking unit. It is great. It is insanely strong if God is on your side. Now, people are going to say these percentage and the math rounds out to like 0. Isn't that positive? No. It's always positive. It's always positive. All these percentages are fake. Remember, if you subscribe to the Holy Spreadsheet and follow the Golden Path, RNG isn't real. DR isn't real. Crit rate isn't real. And that's been proven several times where crit rate was bugged and is not actually value. It's shown. Like with the wheel that no one noticed for over a year. Where the crit rate was bugged and no one noticed. This is the same thing here. All these percentages are fake. What you get from Saya is between you and your God. She's from another game. Maybe it's between you and Saya. It's what she gives you. RNG isn't real. The only real thing is your connection with God. Go to church more often, guys. So let's go over the rest of her Exalt. Now this is the shield game to make up for the Devour. Her Exalt is extremely good. However, it's only remotely viable in a Manchette team. Why? You can only Exalt like one time a turn, dude. Yeah, I mean one time a battle, dude. There is almost no way you're going to find a way to Exalt more than once a battle unless you plus 12 her, which I'll critique later on this video. Because this, by the way, is base 200 Alimus. And I don't know if you noticed this. There's nothing besides her rouse that generates a lot of Alimus. Besides the babies. So yeah, you're only going to get one Exalt a battle, guys. It's not a multiple Exalt unit. So you have to make it count. You have to make it count on your good unit. And Manchette can take advantage of the basic strike or basic defense. Yeah, so this strike, make them take effect one more time. This is a Manchette support for her main team. It's quite obvious. Now, the base copy of their command cards, that means her Shining Crush or Corporal. Corporal also works here. Or Corporal. So, this also can set a Shining Crush to 0. Again, some people are going to say she's fucking garbage. You know why? Because it's randomly set the arithmetical costs of a skill card to 0. What do you mean? It's between you and Saya. It's between you and your God. It's always going to hit the card you want. And if it doesn't, you need to go to church more often. You need to go to your local mosque more often, you fucking degenerate. It's your fault. Instead of blaming the game, blame yourself. It's because if you're a student, Tuesday night, when you're at class coming home from your lecture, you looked at that girl in your class or that guy with ill intentions. You looked at them and thought they were an Ultra player. How dare you? Why would you degrade them like that in your mind? Okay? Why would you think they were an Ultra player? Yeah, she knows all of your sins. All those dirty thoughts you have. So if it doesn't give you what you want, it's your fault. So, next. Also, this is also a thing. This destroy effect, by the way, is permanently in battle until the battle ends. So you need some big meme shit, which I'll do when I'm testing her. Basically, you can carry the fist from battle to battle and have a meme turn where you have like 10 Shining Crushes in your hand or something similar. It is never going to happen, but in theory it could. So let's go over her rest of her kit that power creeps. So her cards also power creep. Because this Embryo Fusion 2-cost card is on par with Thighs if it weren't for the Caro Realm Embryo nerf with the double generation. So this is already better than Lei, though. Already better than Lei, 2 costs for the Embryo fusion. But the big thing I want to go over that is weird is Visceral Blossom, which is a power creep card, like G. Murphy's Abyss Him. So this inflicts this much corrosion on all enemies. So this is a level 60 stat, by the way. I'm going to go, and the rest of it is insane. This is also retained. So let's go in-game so I can explain what I mean. This is my Whale Caster. So this is his base Embryo corrosion. 11,000. Which is the same as a level 60 Saya that's AoE without the plus 12 cast arouse. And that's the first Embryo card. So this is the second one. So that's 2,500. Because remember, Caster's thing is that the very first corrosion card is increased corrosion. So her card alone already generates more corrosion value than a Whale Out Caster at level 60. Now, granted, this is the Rouse Caster, which is 25,000. So she's comparable to a Whaled Out Caster. Now, Caster's obviously better because you can play, like, more corrosion cards. But every subsequent corrosion, you see, it was only 2,500. So out of that initial hit, that is very, very, very good value. That is very good value. I don't think I need to go over it. So this card is very good, and it's AoE. So equivalent to a plus 12 caster at just E0. At just E0 fucking whatever. This is AoE. And if it was just that, I would be like, cool. It's balanced. But the secondary effect and the fact that it's intained and costs 0 cost makes her G. Murphy level of broken for this card. Because she already power creeps Arita. So, again, look at a card. This is retain and discard. So let's go in-game. The only other unit that has that card is Arita. And Arita is a 2-cost card, no retain. It's already better than the Arita discard card. So she's already going to be better than Arita on discard teams. So she's already going to be better than Arita on discard team. So, yeah, that's power creep right there. That's a 0-cost discard all card, even without all the other effects. The corrosion is very nice. So let's go over her Enlightens. So I'm going to rate her very generously compared to fucking garbage, no utility units. Because unlike other units, you don't need her Enlightens. Her Enlightens are broken and fixes something that's wrong with her. But her base kit alone, as you can see, it's already good. And her Enlightens are, some of them are trash. Let me be honest with you. So her E1, insanely good. Her E1 is very good, not essential. This is the better scaling. This is why you don't build Realm Mastery on her. Because this is sigil. Everyone likes money. You want to buy, you want money over Realm Mastery anyway. And Exalt base generation, corrosion damage is even higher, which is insane. But every 1% sigil yield, she generates 0.25% base shield and 0.5% base corrosion by Visceral Blossom. So, in theory, let me go back in game so I can show you the in theory value as someone who has money wheels, who loves the money, who loves capitalism. I love capitalism. So let's go over, let me grab the thing, and let me show you how much sigil yield you can get. So this is assuming you have all whaled out sigil yields. So this is already 43% right here, or 43.2. And my special money wheel. my special money wheel. So with all this and the Riker bonus, so right now, sorry, it's the fucking details right here. Yeah, so right now, this is 66.3%. You can get a little bit more. In theory, if you like min-max even further to Covenant, I didn't min-max, this is going to be like 70 to 75 plus the base stat. So this is how much sigil yield you can get. So a full meme sigil yield is better than a full meme realm mastery. So let's say you have that. Let's round it up to 70%. So let's say you have 70% sigil yield. The sigil yield scaling is already better than the realm mastery scaling because 0.5%. So 70 times 0.5. 70 times 0.5. So with just 10% sigil yield, it's 5% more corrosion. So with 7, it's 35% more corrosion. And with this, 35% more corrosion with full sigil yield. Now let's go up and let's look at the meme realm mastery. Let's say you have 200. Let's say you have 200 realm mastery. You have 200 realm mastery. This is a 10% increase in the stacks. Yeah, you would rather the sigil yield, and you get money. So her E1 is very, very, very good for sigil yield. So her E2 is fucking garbage. Now the Embryo fusion is very good, strike and defense. It's not worth pulling for unless you really love Xayah. You're not going to notice it because you're not going to play strike or defense often. This is typical of most units. You're going to play their skill cards. You don't have so much mana a turn. Now, you will play her strike on a Monchette team. If you are playing a Monchette team with her E2 is very important for the babies. If you're not, you wouldn't bother with this. So let's look at her E3. Her E3 is very good for endgame players. For endgame players, it's good because it does corrosion equal to target's max HP. If you're a new player just starting out, you can forget this exists because mobs at early game have so little HP that this does not matter. You're going to kill them without this corrosion anyway. Mobs later have millions and millions of HP. So later on, when they have millions of HP, this is insanely good. This actually makes her better than Caster. Endgame, this makes her better than Caster. Because Caster's corrosion scaling does not keep up with, let's say, train mobs. Like train mobs with 40 million HP. This is insane. This is insane for endgame modes for her E3. Now, her OE and her plus 12, broken. You don't even need to take my word for it. All copy skill cards take effect one additional time. Okay, I don't need to explain that. That's just a lesser version of dies. It's very good. Now her plus 12 fixes the issue I talked about with her hard alienness gain and her high base alienness. I don't like it. I don't like it because it's so easy to trigger. Just use Crimson Furnace. That's it. It's just a part of her kit that should be in her base kit. This should be in her base kit, but it fixes her alienness issues. I don't like the direction the game is going with plus 12. This fixes the main issue with her. So anyone with a plus 12 Xayah will have no issues playing her compared to someone without a plus 12 Xayah. So again, final rating after going over all the kit, A to S tier. Probably A, because again, my tier list, I only put them S tier if she beats out another S tier unit. So, whose does she have to beat out? Hamlin. Hamlin versus her. Who is better on a general team? Who would I recommend more? So far, it's probably going to be Hamlin. However, if she makes it insane, multiple comps, not just Monchette. If she makes more viable comps than Hamlin, he's going down to A tier. Doesn't matter how strong she is. I only have 5 units in S tier. So, that's who she has to beat. She's not going to be able to beat G-Doll. She's not going to be able to beat Thighs. She's not going to be able to beat G-Murphy. She's not going to be able to beat any of the other units. The only unit she can beat is Hamlin. So, without further ado, that is the Saya pre-release kit review.